Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jai Singh for News First, where people come first. Let's now cross over to headlines.
Tear gas fired at protesting IUSF students at Surupaya. Dhammika Pereira appointed to Basil's parliamentary seat.
මේ ඉල්ලීමත් එක්ක මං හිතන්නේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා යම්කිසි කැපකිරීමක් කරා ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ විශේෂ ඉල්ලීමක් තිබුණා. ඒ අනුව අපි මේ පත්කිරීම සිදු කරා.
BOI, SLT, Port City and 15 institutions gazetted under the Ministry of Technology and Investment Promotion. Prime Minister criticises parliamentarians Sumandiran and Shanakyan.
ලක්වන් කතිගම් මෙතුමා ඝාතනය කරද්දී එතුමා විවේචනය කළා කතා කරේ පිටින් කොටි සංවිධානය. දැන් මේක ඇතුලෙන් කරනවා. මොකද්ද මේකේ තේරුම?
එතුමාගේ ගැනත් අපි කතා කරනවා නම් බටලන්දේ report එක වගේ දේවල්
I expect your condolence.
New chairman of Litrogas resigns. Special holiday on Monday due to the transport and power crisis. Will fuel prices be increased again?
ලෝක වෙළඳ පොලේ මිල අඩු වෙලාද වැඩි වෙලාද? ලෝක වෙළඳ පොලේ මිල අනුව තමයි අපිට ඒක තීරණය කරන්න වෙන්නේ.
Agreement signed with India to import fertilizer. Will the 21st Amendment end up in the dustbin?
අපි බයේ එක එකට ඕනි විදියට ඡන්දේ පාවිච්චි කරන්න වැඩ කරන්න මෙතනට ආවේ නැහැ. 21කට බලෙන් ඡන්දේ ගන්න හදන්න එපා. මම එහෙමනොත් දෙන්නෙම නැහැ. අපි මොකාටද බය වෙන්න ඕන?
Police fired tear gas at the Inter-University Students' Federation protest opposite the Education Ministry in Palavatta, Pathfinder.
The protesters opposed the unjust action at the Ruhuna and Kalani universities and the unjust punishments on students. The protesters attempted to enter the Education Ministry premises. The police attempted to give the protesters an opportunity for a meeting.
අමාත්‍යංශයේ පූස් පැටියොත් එක්ක අපිට කතා කරලා නැහැ. කවුද ඉන්නේ සාකච්ඡාවට? සාකච්ඡාවක් දෙන්න අපි මෙතනින් යන්නේ නැහැ.
The police attempted to arrange a meeting between the protesters and an officer. However, the protesters did not agree to a meeting with the said officer.
ප්‍රශ්න දෙකයි අහන්නේ. ඔය අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශයට මම අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශේ නෙමෙයි. එන කොයිද? එන යන්න. ආඩු යන්න. ඔයා පොලිසියනේ. ඔයා ගිහලා කරගන්න. අපි දෙන්නේ සාකච්ඡා.
The police requested the students to join a meeting once again.
හැමදෙත් එක්ක ඕනේ සාකච්ඡා. අවුරුත් එක්ක තියෙන්නේ. හැමදෙත් නැතිනොත් මම එළියට එන්නේ නැහැ. මොහොට්ටුවේ පොලිසියනේ සතමාගට විශ්වාස නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා ලේකම්ගේ පූසා හැමතිගේ හුරතල් බල්ලනේ. ඒව අපිට කියන්න එපා.
5 members of the IUSF, including its convener Vasantha Mudalige, then held a meeting with the Education Minister. The group returned after a 2-hour meeting.
The minister made an announcement saying that the discussions on revoking the suspension of students of the Kalna University will begin. The Vice Chancellor of the Ruhuna University has been suppressing the students of the university. We have proved this with evidence. He must be suspended. We propose that a commission be appointed to discuss this. If authorities are not going to intervene to solve this issue, we will continue to protest like this.
The protesters dispersed after the meeting with the Education Minister. In a statement, the Education Ministry said it is ready to solve the university students' issue through the Ministry of Higher Education. A discussion on the matter will be held next week.
Businessman and former Ministry Secretary Dhammika Pereira has been appointed to the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentary seat left vacant by Basil Rajapaksa today. The Elections Commission in an announcement said that they have decided to gazette the name of Dhammika Pereira as a member of the parliament from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
Arriving at the Elections Commission this morning, the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Sagara Karyavasam, said Dhammika Pereira will be appointed to the seat left vacant by Basil Rajapaksa.
The Elections Commission has to issue a gazette first. After that, Dhammika Pereira will be able to act as a parliamentarian. Amidst the economic crisis, there was a strong request made by the President and several organizations to bring in a person that is aware of the economy to Parliament. With that request, Basil Rajapaksa made a sacrifice. He led by example. If such individuals are to be brought in, he will make sacrifices. Accordingly, with the special request by the President, he made this appointment.
අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ විශේෂ ඉල්ලීමක් තිබුණා. ඒ අනුව අපි මේ පත් කිරීම සිදු කරා. එය ජනාධිපතිතුමා විසින් තීරණය කළ යුතුයි. එය අපේ පක්ෂයේ තීරණයක් නෙමෙයි. ධම්මික පෙරේරා මහත්මයා සම්බන්ධයෙන් බදු හරියට ගෙවීමක් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන චෝදනාවක් තිබුණා. යම්කිසි චෝදනාවක්.
If there is an allegation, one can file a case against him in court and enact the law against him. Our party has always respected the law.
රටේ නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක විය යුතුයි. අපි පක්ෂයක් හැටියට හැමතිස්සෙම මේ රටේ පවතින නීතියට ගරු කරන පක්ෂයක්.
මොහු පත් කරන එකට විරුද්ධත්වය පළ කරේ කවුද ඔබතුමාලගේ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ගේ?
නෑ එහෙම විරුද්ධත්වයක් මේ වෙනතෙක් පළ වෙලා නෑ.
Meanwhile, Dhammika Pereira has obtained membership in the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa issued an extraordinary gazette yesterday declaring the creation of the Minister of Technology and Investment Promotion and Minister of Women, Child Affairs and Social Empowerment.
15 institutions have been placed under the Minister of Technology and Investment Promotion, and they are the Department of Registration of Persons, Department of Immigration and Immigration, Telecommunication Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka and allied institutions, Information and Communication Technology Agency and allied institutions, Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team, Sri Lanka Telecom and its subsidiaries and allied institutions, Colombo Lotus Tower Management Company Private Limited, Technopark Development Company Private Limited, Information Technology Parks Jaffna and Manor, Industrial Technology Institute, Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology Private Limited, Sri Lanka Standards Institute, Sri Lanka Institute of Biotechnology Private Limited, Board of Investment of Sri Lanka and Colombo Port City Economic Commission. And 15 institutions have been placed under the Minister of Women, Child Affairs and Social Empowerment.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today criticised TNA parliamentarians M.A. Sumandiran and Shanakyan Rasamanikam in Parliament. Parliamentarian Rasamanikam responded to the comments made by the Prime Minister this evening.
All parliamentarians, including the opposition leader, were allowed to deliver a statement of condolence, but no one did that. They encouraged it. I will read from the Hansard what Chanakyan Rasamanikim said on the 20th of May. Houses were burnt because they voted in favour of legislation like the 20th Amendment to the Constitution that adversely affected the country. There were wrong economic policies in the budgets for the years 2020 and 2021. The houses were burnt because they voted in favour of both of these budgets. Remember that this happened to those MPs because they went against the mandate of the people. How can a member of parliament speak like this? When Lakshman Kadiragaman was assassinated, people from the outside criticized him, like the LTTE. Now MPs are criticized from the inside. What is the meaning of this? When parliament was surrounded, they said that they were not harmed, and on the next day they posted a picture with Kumar Gunaratnam from the Frontline Socialist Party. No one is against the Frontline Socialists working democratically. Is this what is happening in parliament? I would like to say that by the end of next week, if he does not express his condolence and withdraw this statement, Honourable Speaker, please inquire into this matter. Direct it to the relevant committee and give us a report. I would like to say that things like this cannot happen in this house.
බොහොම ස්තුතිකරු අගමැතිතුමනි අගමැතිතුමා විසින් මතු කරන ලද කාරණේ පිළිබඳව විශේෂයෙන් සොයා බලා කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා ගරු කතානායකතුමාට මම දන්වනවා.
මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අද උදෑසන සිට මගේ නම විටින් විට ප්‍රකාශ වුණා. ඒ පිළිබඳව විනාඩියක කාලයක් තුළ මම මේ පොඩි පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න කැමතියි. අද උදෑසන ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා හය පාරක් අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා වැරදි ප්‍රකාශයක් මම පිළිබඳව මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේදී කරලා තියෙනවා.
ගරු ශානකතුමා ඔබතුමා විවාදයක් ගන්න එපා.
විවාදයක් නෙමෙයි මට සමාවෙන්න මට විනාඩියක් කාලයක් දෙන්න.
ඔබතුමාට අවස්ථාව දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
විවාදයක් නෙමෙයි මට විනාඩියක් කාලයක් දෙන්න.
Not to debate, but give me some time. The statement made this morning is wrong. I express my condolence to Amarakirti Attukorala and his family. The Prime Minister only quoted a small part of my 30-minute address in Parliament. Therefore, I submit this statement to the House. Anyone can look at this. The Prime Minister spoke about me and the LTTE. Also, he had made a false statement that I had connections with Pillayan on the 6th of May and before that as well. I would like to ask the Prime Minister not to do things like this. If we are speaking about him, we can discuss the report on Batalanda.
I expect your condolence.
After the statement made by the Prime Minister was brought up at the party leaders meeting by M.A. Sumandiran, the Prime Minister addressed Parliament again.
When the Parliamentary Committee convened, M.A. Sumandiran said that the statement that was made was wrong and that it had no relevance. He requested for this to be expunged. His opposition was recorded there. I would like to state that this cannot be done. All these matters cannot be discussed at the committee. When Rasamanikam made this statement, M.A. Sumandiran was seated right next to him. He had a responsibility to stop him instead of expunging my statement. I am not going to say anything against the TNA as they too expressed their condolences over the matter. This could have been stopped, but it wasn't stopped.
In a statement of condolence, it is a parliamentary tradition for all parties, including the ruling and opposition parties, to work together and avoid blaming each other. That is to respect the late parliamentarian. This tradition has continued for a long time. Unfortunately, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe violated that twice today. MP Rasamanikam was criticized. If I had argued against that, I would have violated that tradition too. So I explained it to him after the parliamentary session.
The Frontline Socialist Party also responded to the statement made by the Prime Minister linking the TNA and the Frontline Socialist Party. The bond scam perpetrated by the Prime Minister during the tenure of the previous government has not been investigated. Although thugs who went to Temple Trees on the 9th of May attacked Gotagogama, Mahindra Paksha is still free. While covering up all the corrupt things done by the Rajapakshas, they are blaming the people for becoming violent. Without speaking a word in Parliament about what happened in the morning of the 9th of May, he is speaking about something that happened in the night. Instead of speaking about the incident, he is talking about the response. Ranil Wickremesinghe is 73 years old now. He must have got the papers mixed up. His speechwriter might have to check if what he wrote was what was actually said in Parliament.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has rejected a statement made by the Prime Minister on Wednesday, the 8th.
The Bar Association met with the President and agreed on the 8th of May that if the 19th Amendment to the Constitution is brought back and if the executive presidency is abolished, then he can continue to be President. Their proposals do not include anything else.
Issuing a statement, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka denied the Prime Minister's claim and said that no such agreement was made with the President. While highlighting that it is a professional organisation, the BSL said that the question of reaching an agreement between the President and the BSL never arose. The statement added that the BSL has not given any assurance to the President that he could continue in office if he agreed to abolish the executive presidency and the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
The majority support needed to pass the 21st Amendment in Parliament is being challenged. Several SRSP parliamentarians and independent MPs that broke away from the government expressed the following views regarding the matter.
We must highlight one point. We didn't come here to be manipulated for our votes through fear. We are a political group who are ready to face any challenge. Therefore, do not try to intimidate us. Do not try to back us against the wall. They don't even know what is in the 21st Amendment and are asking us to vote in favour of it. It has not even been presented to the cabinet, but they are asking for our vote. Do not try to obtain votes for the 21st Amendment by force. If that happens, we will not vote at all. I will never vote in fear of anyone. I will vote according to my conscience. No matter who attacks me or kills me outside of Parliament, you cannot do that in Parliament. You cannot get me to vote for the 21st Amendment like that. That is not democracy. We cannot vote based on our personal preferences. Democracy must not be opened in a society like this. I will not vote in favour of the 21st Amendment. If this is how things are done, we will not be able to do anything inside this house. We thought we lived in a civilized society, but now this is not a civilized society.
Parliamentarians Dhammika Pereira, Professor Charita Hera, Dilan Pereira and a group of MPs from the Podujana Peramana held a discussion with the Elections Commission today.
We came here today to hold discussions with the Election Commission about how we can amend the electoral laws and hold elections under the system change that is demanded by those engaging in the struggle. There is no democracy within any political party. That is the reason why I wore a yellow tie. This is going to be the color of all independent people in the future. We came to bring about these changes wearing this color.
දැන් කොහොමද පක්ෂයක් හැදෙනවද ඔබතුමාලගේ අලුතෙන් මොකක්ද අහන්න බලන්න කොමසාරිස් තුමා ඒකේ ඔබතුමා නායකත්වයේ දරනවා කියලා දැන් කියවුණා පොඩ්ඩක් ඩිලන් පෙරේරා මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගෙන් නෑ ධම්මික පෙරේරා මහතාගේ ආගමනය කොහොමද දකින්නේ
ජනතා වරමඩ තමයි ඉඩ දෙන්න ඕනේ නේ ඒ කියන්නේ ජන වරම විකෘති කරන දේවල් වලට අපි කිසිම කැමැත්තක් ඇත්තේ නැහැ.
The Ministry of Public Administration has declared Monday 13 June a special government holiday. The ministry said this decision was taken citing transportation issues and difficulties experienced in operating government offices. In light of the post and full moon Poya Day on Tuesday, the government has decided to name Monday as a special holiday. With the announcement of the special holiday, many people were travelling to their homes for the long weekend. Newsfirst Senator Senanayaka now joins us live from Fort with the latest update of the situation there.
As you know, earlier today the government announced the 13th of this month, that is the coming Monday, a special holiday, and with that Sri Lanka is approaching a long weekend from tomorrow. Now I am at the private bus stand here in Petta. We visited the CTB bus stand in Petta as well, and we saw long queues of people waiting to get into a bus so that they can head home. Mainly short distance buses and long distance buses. Passengers here complained that they were severely inconvenienced as they had to wait for several hours to get a ticket for a bus, and even some passengers had complained that even though they booked the ticket for a seat, the chances of them getting a seat was taken away at the last minute due to the shortage of vehicles. I'm Senitha Senanayaka reporting for News First, where the people come first.
Thank you, Senitha. With that, moving on to more local news. Long queues for fuel were seen in many parts of the country, including Colombo today.
People were seen in long queues opposite the Sugathadasa Stadium in Colombo. They have been in queue for the past 4 days.
I operate a school transport service. After dropping the children at school, we are suffering on the street. We have no food either. We are helpless. We have no other mode of income. We are fed up. They're only making comments while sitting in air-conditioned rooms. They don't know how much the people are struggling. The parents are complaining about the transport fees increasing. How can we operate without doing that? They told us to pump fuel from the CTB. Even those in contact with employees there pump fuel from the CTB.
Kerosene was available at the fuel station at the Ratkama junction in Gaul. A heated situation arose when the kerosene was distributed among the people who were in the queue for days. This was the situation in Vadhua.
We don't even know if fuel stocks will arrive. People have been in the queue since morning. We can't ask them to stay or leave. If we receive fuel stocks, we will distribute them.
This was the situation in Galkulama in the Anuradhapura district.
The Agriculture Ministry is asking to engage in cultivation. How can we do that when there is no water? Kerosene is 500 rupees, petrol is 800 rupees. After using that, we must come back to the queue the next day.
Frustrated area residents held a protest blocking Galkulama. They had been in the queue for around a week.
We are
hoping to bring down 2 more ships carrying petrol and diesel into the country tomorrow and the day after. We are expecting the final shipment of fuel under the Indian credit line to arrive in the country by the 16th. We are expecting a ship carrying petrol on the 22nd. We are also expecting the arrival of a ship carrying crude oil. The second ship will be coming before the 20th. All of this is in addition to the fuel that we produce from our Sapugaskandar oil refinery. We are attempting to provide as much fuel as we can. But we are going to introduce an alternate system. I believe that the Prime Minister has proposed a coupon system.
We
will have to decide the price based on the price of oil in the global market. If you are saying that the price has reduced, then it may reduce. But if the price has increased, local prices will increase as well.
JP Morgan says oil prices could surge to $175 a barrel later this year.
JP Morgan's chief executive thinks oil prices could surge to $175 a barrel later this year. The head of commodity trade at Trafigura says oil could go parabolic. Energy experts say we are facing, quote, perhaps the most bullish oil market there has ever been, unquote. Goldman thinks oil prices will average be $140 a barrel in the third quarter of this year. The energy crisis, which started with Russia squeezing natural gas supplies to Europe before spreading across the commodity complex after the invasion of Ukraine, is far from over. Experts say that this is likely to get worse before it gets better, with grave ramifications for a world economy already riddled with inflation.
During a meeting with media heads yesterday, the Prime Minister said representatives of the International Monetary Fund will arrive in the country on the 20th of June. The Prime Minister said a staff-level agreement with the IMF will be reached by the end of June. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund said that it is committed to support Sri Lanka at this difficult time in line with the IMF policies.
Clearly, Sri Lanka facing very difficult economic conditions and severe balance of payments problems. We are deeply concerned about the impact of the ongoing crisis and particularly, again, the humanitarian concern the impact on people, and particularly the poor and the vulnerable groups. So we are monitoring that situation very closely.
What can we expect during the IMF delegation's visit to Sri Lanka?
What I expect this to be about is about understanding what are the policies that the government has in mind with regards to fiscal consolidation, with regards to debt sustainability, with regards to growth, and ultimately also to understand whether this set of policy measures are likely to be underwritten by the entire Sri Lankan population. During their visit, they're going to have discussions with the government and different government agencies about their view on the policies that the government proposed, and maybe they will give some suggestions on how to enhance these and how to make them more attractive. But essentially, this process is very much driven by us, the main agencies of the Sri Lankan government, the Treasury and the Central Bank. And in order to ascertain all these things, I expect their visit to involve having meetings with the Prime Minister and the President, but also most likely meeting the main opposition. So these meetings will not be political in nature. What's critical here is that these proposals which the Treasury and the Central Bank propose are ones which can be underwritten by the entire political spectrum. We can't assume that the current set of actors, the current political parties in play are going to be in place several years from now. And if you think about an IMF program, which will be going on for several years, they need to understand that whatever policies are in place now won't be undone by any subsequent government.
News First with the people.
Will India send us fertilizer?
You're watching Primetime News. Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ? නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ? හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප්පයක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්. මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක්. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප්පයක්.
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජලනල කාර්මිකයා. දැන් රඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back to the news. In more local news, Litro Gas chairman Engineer Vijay Herath has resigned from his position on the 21st of April. Engineer Vijay Herath, who is the former chairman of Sri Lanka Insurance, was appointed as the chairman of state-run Litro Gas Lanka Limited. Herath was appointed after Teshar Singh resigned from the position. Moving on to more local news, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara clarified the amendments made to the electricity bill yesterday. Criticisms were leveled, citing that the amendment does not allow the implementation of large-scale power projects through a competitive bidding procedure.
The biggest racket happening in the country is the submission of low prices to the bidding process. They keep that price for 2 years without investments and technology. After 2 years, they sell the tender to someone else and bring the investment. This happened last week. In 2019, a tender is issued to the Ceylon Electricity Board for the grid substation in Mannar. 15 parties bidded there. The bid is given for 12 rupees and 95 cents per unit. After 2 years, they are saying that these prices won't do, and therefore they are increasing the price per unit to 22 rupees and 46 cents. What is this game? I challenge anyone to show me an instance where these mechanisms have worked properly, instances where power was saved. If that happened, we won't be having these problems.
මේ විදුලි බල සංශෝධන 50 කෙටුම්පත ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමේදී ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයේ හිටපු ප්‍රබල ඇමතිවරුත් ඒ කියන්නේ මහින්දානන්ද අලුත්ගමගේ වගේ ඇමතිවරුත් ඡන්දය නොදී යනවා. මොකෝ හේතුව? ඒක එතුමාගෙන් අහන්න වෙන්නේ. මම දන්නේ.
You must ask that from him. I don't know whether he had any private commitments. I know Mahindra Paksha did not oppose this. He helped me a lot when I was trying to bring forward this bill. He came to the meeting with the trade unions. I don't know why he was not there at the time when the vote was held.
එතුමා නොසිටියයි කියන එක මම දන්නේ නැහැ.
ඊයේ දවසේ සිදු වුණු
Yesterday, the competitive bidding system for power purchases was completely done away with, enabling certain individuals to favor their allies, collect commissions, and instead of producing electricity at the least cost system, create an opportunity for multinational companies to produce electricity in a manner detrimental to the country. This amendment was passed by the Pohottuwa majority MPs in Parliament. Today, they are creating the atmosphere for commissions to be earned by enabling certain energy companies to operate a monopoly in the country under the guise of renewable energy. This is a crime. We would like to clearly state that we will take all democratic steps that we can against this decision.
පැහැදිලිවම අපි කියන්නට කැමති මේ කරපු අපරාධයට විරුද්ධව අපට ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීව ගත හැකි ඉදිරි පියවර අපි ගන්නට සූදානම්.
The government passed an amendment yesterday saying that projects can be handed over without calling for tenders. What are the projects that were handed over without calling for a tender? The Hambantota Port, the Maptala Airport, the Suryavava Stadium, the Southern Expressway, the Norochole Power Plant, the Port City. Other deals took place without calling for tenders. Several power projects will take place in the future. We said that it was all right not to call for tenders for small projects below 10 megawatts, but they didn't agree to even call tenders for projects over 10 megawatts. They are trying to hand over a solar power project of over 500 megawatts to India's Adani. India has taken the project for $0.035 per unit, but Sri Lanka has given it for $0.07. The CEB has to also pay the Adani company in dollars, but the CEB is paid in rupees. So electricity is sold in rupees, but Adani takes the profit back to India in dollars. There was a tender for a solar power project recently. Many had called for the tender, but they waited for the amendment to pass yesterday. Do you think that they will resolve the issues in the country?
Former Prime Minister Mahindra Paksha expressed his views in Parliament today. He was speaking during the motion of condolence in Parliament over the passing of parliamentarian Amarukirti Atukorala during the violence that erupted on the 9th of May.
ජනතාව අතරේ ආර්ථික අර්බුදය නිසා වේදනාව කලකිරීමක් වෙන බව ඇත්ත. මේ වගේ අර්බුදයක
It is true that there is frustration and pain among the people due to the economic crisis. It is also true that people will protest during a crisis like this. But these protests, going as far as murdering people and burning down houses, was because of the people who are organizing them. There are political movements that are pushing the frustration and pain of the people towards violence. This struggle that took the life of an innocent man can no longer be called an innocent struggle. There is hatred in the hearts of the people at the struggle and blood on their hands. This murder has intimidated the people who desire of living democratically. The religious leaders at the struggle that day also did not call for the violence to stop. They did not condemn it. It was a Thera who came to attack my house. My house was set ablaze by a Thera as well. If this continues, venerable Theras will not be able to walk on the streets of this country. The people responsible for these murders are not ordinary citizens. They are drug addicts. People who instigate them must also be held responsible. On the 9th, we saw the Cardinal and Sobhita Thera speaking. And what did they say? Did they not impliedly say, go and attack? Did the leaders of the JVP not say the same thing? On the 31st, the residence of the President was attacked. It was set on fire. The houses of innocent people in the vicinity were also set on fire. But when they were taken to court, about 150 lawyers appeared for them and got them released like they were heroes. We saw a video where bells were rung at churches to summon people so that they can go and attack and set fire to houses. This was orchestrated by the priests. The Catholic Church was also behind this, not only temples. When I say these things, I will be attacked tomorrow. Theros will scold me, but I'm okay with that. I would like to say that both the temple and the church was behind these attacks. I was at a hospital for 45 minutes, after which I was informed that I won't be treated because I represent the Pohottuwa. That is what is happening today. I trusted the doctor and went there. When I went on Facebook and looked him up, he's a member of the struggle.
Convening a media briefing at the official residence of the Archbishop, the Catholic Church responded to the statement made by Minister Prasanna Ranatunga.
අපි මේ ප්‍රකාශය සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා. හැම අවස්ථාවකදීම අපි උත්සාහ කළේ ගැටුම් වලින් තොර සාමකාමී පරිසරයක් අපේ රට තුළ ඇති.
We reject this statement. We always try to create a peaceful environment in the country free from any conflict. It was because of the steps taken by the Cardinal that communal violence after the Easter Sunday attacks was prevented. If that had not happened, the violence after the Easter Sunday attack could have been 100 to 1,000 times worse than the carnage of the Easter Sunday attack. But we can see that there is a political culture in the country that promotes violence and murder. Also, there is a political culture of pitting one against the other to secure and hold on to power. We view this statement made by Prasanna Ranathunga today as an attempt to stir racial and communal tensions. Where did the violence begin on the 9th? The initial assault was carried out by a group of ministers, councillors and supporters who came from temple trees. Did the intelligence units in the country not know that something like this was going to happen? Without holding an impartial investigation into the incident, a minister is trying to blame us for this. This is an act of cowardice.
මේ රජයේ අනුගාමිකයන් පිරිසක් අතේ මේ රටේ ඉන්න බුද්ධිංශය දැනගෙන හිටියේ නැද්ද මේ විදිහේ දෙයක් සිදු වෙන්නට යනවා කියලා. සාධාරණව මේ පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කරන්නේ නැතුව අමාත්‍යවරයෙක් ඒක අපේ පිට දාන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. මේක ඊටාම බියගුළු ක්‍රියාවක්.
Venerable Omar Pesobitutero also spoke about the current situation in the country.
The people have the sovereignty to appoint their representatives, but politicians have robbed the people of this sovereignty as well. Our constitution has deteriorated to such an extent where parliamentarians reside and appoint anyone they want to parliament. A person without any charges of corruption should be appointed to the seat that has now been left vacant in parliament. A person who has not been accused of tax fraud. Secondly, this person must reveal his asset declarations to the public.
පළවෙනි දේ තමයි තමන්ගේ වත්කම් බැරකම් පැහැදිලි ලෙසම ඉදිරිපත් කිරීම.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chang met with civil society leaders. They discussed concerns about arbitrary arrest and the need to investigate and prosecute those responsible for the violence that unfolded on the 9th of May. They also discussed the ongoing efforts to address the human rights challenges in Sri Lanka.
The Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, M. Sirivardhana, today signed an agreement with the Exim Bank of India to obtain a dollar credit line. The government requested a credit facility from the Indian government for the importation of urea fertilizer of 65,000 metric tons. This is to cater the immediate requirement of urea fertilizer demand during the Yala cultivation season. In response to the request, the government of India agreed to offer a dollar credit line amounting to $55 million for procurement of urea fertilizer from India. A dialogue on the current economic crisis and social fabric was held at the Columbia University today. Speaking at the discussion, Senior Professor Jayadev Udayangura expressed these views.
බලනකොට පෙනෙන මට නම් පෙනෙන දෙයක් තමයි තවමත් අපේ ඉන්නේ මේ අර්බුදයේ කුමක්ද කියා.
What I can see is that we are still struggling to understand what kind of a crisis we are facing. Look at what is happening today. The biggest debate in the country today is to find the answer to the question as to if we are facing an economic crisis or a political crisis. They are looking at this situation in parts. As a person working in social sciences, I believe that Sri Lanka is today facing a severe and never before seen social crisis. Who is talking about this? Is this being discussed on any forum? The features of this social crisis includes a serious wave of poverty. Sri Lanka has been engulfed by several waves of poverty within a short period of time of about 3 years. Poor people have become poorer and people in the middle class have become poor. No one is speaking about these matters. I believe that these matters are not even being discussed by members of our social science faculty. What is the reason for this? We have still not been able to understand the nature of this crisis in the country. I believe that this is a serious failure in the social science field of the country.
මම හිතන්නේ අපේ විශ්වවිද්‍යාල සමාජ විද්‍යා දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව වල කවුරුවක් කතා කරන්න බෑ මම දන්නේ. ඒකට හේතුව මොකක්ද? අපිට තවමත් බැරි වෙලා තිබෙනවා ලංකාවේ තිබෙන මේ සමස්ත අර්බුදයේ ස්වභාවය හඳුනා ගැනීමට. ඒක මම හිතන හැටියට සමාජ විද්‍යා ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ ලංකාවේ තිබෙන අතිශයින්ම තියුණු ද ෆේලියර් එක අසමත්
US reports 254th mass shooting this year.
Centre for Policy Alternatives has issued a statement questioning the constitutionality of the appointment of businessman Dhammika Pereira as an MP, though the Sri Lanka Bodhijana Peramuna nationalist.
According to CPA, in terms of the constitution, only a person whose name was included in one of the district nomination papers or the national list submitted by a political party or independent group is entitled to be nominated to fill such a vacancy in the membership of parliament. The CPA statement said Dhammika Pereira was not a member of the SLPP until a few days ago, adding that his name was not included in the SLPP national list or in any of the district list for the parliamentary election in August 2020. CPA added, due to Dhammika Pereira's businesses, decisions made by him as a legislator would have a significant and direct impact on these companies and sectors, which creates a direct conflict of interest. CPA went on to note that these conflicts of interest are not resolved simply by Dhammika Pereira resigning from official positions held within the companies, as he would nonetheless stand to gain significant financial benefits. In addition, CPA said that the practice of appointing any member of a political party who was not nominated at the relevant election violates the franchise of the people, which is a part of the sovereignty of the people.
Pathfinder Digital Insights has developed an interactive timeline which highlights a series of recommendations that Pathfinder has contributed to Sri Lanka's current economic crisis.
Some of the work done by the Pathfinder have focused on a new economic vision post-COVID-19 and macroeconomic impact of the pandemic and policy choices for Sri Lanka. It also includes articles on taxation, consequences of defaulting on sovereign debt and restructuring external debt, perspectives on urgent reforms to resuscitate the economy, and recommendations for Sri Lanka on debt restructuring and bridge financing for humanitarian purposes. Artificial intelligence-powered insights of Pathfinder enables the reader to obtain a summary of the information contained in the Pathfinder's documents through the executive summary. Meanwhile, the topic navigator is a dynamic diagram through which the reader can explore the reports and the newspaper articles by key points. This feature is designed to present aggregate information quickly.
A 23-year-old man shot 4 co-workers, 3 fatally at a manufacturing plant in Western Maryland yesterday before fleeing the scene and exchanging gunfire with state police.
According to the Maryland State Police, a trooper and the suspect were wounded and hospitalized. Investigators have not yet established the motive for the shooting. The suspect has not been charged and therefore wasn't identified. The fatal incident is the 254th mass shooting this year, as the country is on a pace to match or surpass last year's total.
A large number of people have gathered at the Fort Railway Station in Colombo before the upcoming long weekend. Our reporters on the location said that the transport system is overwhelmed owing to the large number of commuters. We leave you tonight with the footage recorded by our Newsfirst reporters at the Fort Railway Station. With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jai Singh for Newsfirst, where people come first. Good night. Take care.